here we are. We're back on the floor of Central Minex 2023, and the energy in this room is palpable. I am now sitting with the CEO of Marathon Gold. We've heard a lot about newfound gold. I'm not quite sure what the connection is, and if there is one, but I do know that the CEO of Marathon Gold has a lot of information for us. So please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Jerry, I'm Matthew Manson. I'm the CEO of Marathon Gold. We're building the Valentine Gold Project under construction. It'll be the largest gold mine in Atlantic Canada, biggest mine of any type on the island of Newfoundland. So, you know, in all the buzz about gold exploration and gold discovery in central Newfoundland, you know, we've been working away down there at Valentine Lake for quite some time. Got the project up to about 5 million ounces. Got it permitted, under construction. We're building the first of what's going to be, I think, a few gold mines that are going to come out of this community of explorers and developers.
For someone like me, I don't know the mining industry very well. I spent 35 years in advertising, so forgive me. Just describe geographically where that Valentine gold mine is.
So it's about 80 kilometers southwest of Millertown. So you drive down a forestry road past Lake Beathic, and you can come in from the Burgeo Highway, also from the west. So it's really in the middle of the island, but it's in a great location for mining. And our closest communities are Buckens and Millertown, which are actually historical mining communities. The Buckens, of course, was the site of the famous Buckens mine, which went for 70, 80 years.
I played ice hockey there in the 70s.
Oh, yeah, well, we've helped fix up the arena there a little bit as well. So yeah, it's a great place to have a mining business, and this is my first time working in Newfoundland. I've been involved in the construction of 3 mines in my career, 2 diamond mines before this, the diving mine in the Northwest Territories, and then the Renard mine in northern Quebec. So first gold mine for me, first mine in Newfoundland, but it's a great experience.
So tell us a little bit about what this particular industry means to this province. Someone like yourself who's built mines around various places, what does this mean to Newfoundland and Labrador?
Well, it's you know, we'll be employing 450 people. We'll be spending $150 million a year in operating costs, a lot of which goes into the local economy. That's for what's currently a 15-year mine life, 2 years of construction, 15 years of operation, with more to come if we find more ore and extend it, and I think we probably will. So that's a lot of tax base. Those are careers, not jobs. 6-figure salaries. Mines are cornerstones of communities. And it's also sustainable development in the sense that we use a lot of contractors locally that create businesses that then go on and do other projects and other type of work. So Newfoundland in particular is a society that understands resource extraction, whether it's the fishery, logging, oil and gas, mining. So I think people are very knowledgeable about the benefits of our type of business in their communities, in their lives. You see the number of kids that are actually at the show. It's quite remarkable.
It is remarkable.
And that's terrific. And you see the number of programs that are oriented towards kids here. We're very involved with STEM for Girls.
Very familiar with it.
So yeah, so look, it's a great, I think people historically in Newfoundland see the benefit of this as part of their, you know, community makeup. And look, you just have to fly in any plane in and out of Newfoundland. You see the number of people on that plane who are working on other mining projects around Canada. So part of our mission here a little bit, and it's to our advantage frankly, is to have some of these people come back to Newfoundland, work on our project, and so we're a force, I think, for building up those communities.
You know, Matt, no deference to any Newfoundlander, but I can tell you, listening to you talk, how long have you been in Newfoundland now, personally, yourself?
Since 2019, when I started the CEO role here.
Interesting. Just prior to the pandemic, eh?
Yeah, just before COVID, yeah.
Well, it's interesting listening to you talk about your perspective of this industry. You know, it's one thing to hear it from a Newfoundlander, it's another thing to hear it from someone who's done this in other jurisdictions. Again, no deference to anyone from Newfoundland. So I'm excited. You're right. The youth in this room. I've been at a lot of trade shows in my 35 years. This has to be one of the busiest I've ever been at. And so you're getting a lot out of it, you think?
Yeah. I think we've got a big team here. I think we've got 10 or 12 people. And we've got not just the geologists and the kind of business-oriented people, we've got a lot of the community-oriented people as well. As I said, we're very involved in STEM for Girls. We've got a big program of community involvement with the 6 communities in central Newfoundland that are in our social and economic catchment area. And we've also got a relationship with the Halipoo First Nation and the Mwapakek First Nation as well. So this is very much, this event here is very much a community-oriented event, isn't it? There's a lot of stuff here which is oriented towards the people of the communities rather than just the professionals of the business.
Let me ask you this from a technical perspective or a geographical perspective. Is the Valentine mine related to the fault for the Appleton? Is it on the Appleton Fault or is it a separate one?
It's a separate one.
Separate. So you're talking there's more faults with more... Yeah?
So Newfoundland's crash course, 20 seconds. Newfoundland is Appalachian geology, 400 million years old. Big remains of a big collision of different pieces of rock. It's the same geology up through the Appalachian Mountains, through the Maritimes, through Newfoundland, over to Scotland where I'm from. So I trained on these types of rocks, up to Norway. And there's a whole bunch of different types of rocks that have been stitched together by these big crustal faults. And the crustal faults are parallel with each other, running northeast, southwest. The Appleton Fault and the series of faults through Gander is one set. We're on the next one over to the west, called the Valentine Shear Zone. And there's a bunch of gold mineralization showings on that side as well. So, and then the whole Bay Verte area, which is the traditional area of gold mining in Newfoundland, is something different again. So you get a sense of the potential for Newfoundland here, the amount of mineralization that exists in this province. The fact that Newfound Gold can have a discovery of the type they've had just in the last year or two talks to about the fact there's a lot of work to be done here still. It's not an overexplored part of the world, right? And so a lot of mineral resource potential here. We're leading the way, I think, in building the first of these mines, and ours is a big project. It's a significantly larger project than the historical gold mining projects in the Bay Verte area. Again, biggest gold mine in Atlantic Canada region, biggest mine on the island of Newfoundland. But it's a very rich province for gold mineralization.
I can't help but get excited listening to you talk. It must be a pleasure to be in your role. Not every day, I'm sure, but
not every day.
You're building something. You're groundbreaking, really. I mean, there's been mining here for years, but I guess you were rebuilding an industry. Are you now?
Yeah, I mean, it's very satisfying to be involved in. Jerry, when you work in the mining business, you can work in exploration and prospecting and knock rocks for your whole career and find stuff or not find stuff. You can work for a producing company like Vale and go to work in Voices and you're kind of 9 to 5 but when you're actually doing what we're doing, which is to take a discovery and create a mine out of it and start up that mine and create a whole new culture around that, whole new culture in your company and build a real business that actually makes money and employs people and has pension plans and the whole life of a new company. That's a very challenging thing to do. That's what my career has been focused on. This is the 3rd time I've done it, but it's incredibly satisfying because you're creating wealth and you're creating income and careers from nothing, right? And it's a very time-consuming occupation. It takes a lot of money. There's a lot of risk, a lot of sleepless nights. But ultimately, when you have the thing actually going and you're seeing the benefits of it, and you're seeing, especially when you're working around Aboriginal communities in the north of Canada, that's on Newfoundland, but in the north of Canada, you're seeing Aboriginal kids who see their parents in the wage economy perhaps for the first time, and having careers and responsible positions. And that's a motivating thing for them to stay in school and to develop their own lives, their own careers, and to stay in their communities as well, give them a reason to stay. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why what we're doing is personally very satisfying, right?
Well, it's satisfying chatting with you. We're going to just ask one more question. What advice would you give to anyone who's interested in this industry?
I think this is a great opportunity. I'm happy to see the number of kids here because they're getting a sense of what it's all about. They're seeing that there's mining companies here, that there's service providers, that there's different agencies involved. Stay in school. Think about science and technology as a career. Most people here have come up through a science and technology type background, but there's also different ways to get into it as well. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to walk into the offices of companies around here. You can walk into the Marathon office and say, I'm interested in a career in mining, who can I talk to? And there'll be somebody there who will sit you down and talk to you. The door is always open for that kind of thing. And very few people do that, but the doors are always open. And then you make connections, you learn, you get to know who's who, and you go from there.
Well, I can tell you, Matt, I'm incredibly privileged to sit next to you and talk about Marathon Gold and all the exciting things happening. One last question. So you moved to Newfoundland. You grew up in Scotland, you say? Yeah. How's the weather compared to Scotland?
Similar. Remarkably similar. Dreich is how we describe this weather in Scotland.
I like that. That's a new word.
So, overcast and raining and variable.
Matt, thank you very much. We're on the floor of Central Minex 2023. There's so many people here. It's exciting. So, thank you very much.
Thanks,
all
Jerry.
the best in building something special here in Newfoundland.
Appreciate it.